At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the Soul of Excellence.
He is a radio host at 77 WABC here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends, to the Tuesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. If you would like to be on the program, 800-848-9222 is how you reach us, 800-848-9222. A sigh, my friends, to begin today's program, a sigh from all of the hysteria on the left. Oh no, our national security has been breached. Oh no, how could it have happened? It started yesterday. The story was blaring in headlines when the show started, and I ignored it yesterday because I was like, look, I'm not going to just jump in on this without really reading it and without waiting to see what happens the next day after the initial reporting takes place, because so often on these big hysteria stories, the initial reporting is very often inaccurate, wrong, or missing something. So I pretty much ignored it yesterday. I ignored a lot of it this morning until I started seeing what was taking place in the hearings and reading the stories yesterday, today. And you have voices on the left, voices on the right calling for Mike Waltz and others to resign. In fact, one of my dearest friends and is one of the main principals of TIPP Insights. And they do just such great work in public polling and policy analysis of it. And they have a headline this afternoon, Signal, Mike Waltz must resign immediately. President Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, must resign immediately for a person in his role where he's supposed to protect America's secrets and only advance President Trump's vision of security. Waltz showed callous disregard this week. Actions have consequences, especially when America's security is concerned. In this case, we call on Waltz to step down honorably, consistent with his brand as an ex-Army Special Forces officer with 4 Bronze Stars. He himself would have demanded nothing less of those reporting to him when he was in command, and then they recount what has taken place that has caused the nationwide hysteria. The high-level snafu occurred when Waltz invited senior officials of the Trump National Security Team, including J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, to chat on the Signal platform. Signal, free open-source messaging app focused on privacy and security. It allows users to send end-to-end encrypted messages, make encrypted voice and video calls, share media and files. The TIP editorial board goes to say that's the first blunder. We've been critical of careless behavior by senior officials in the past, including Hillary Clinton's handling of emails on her private server at home and Vice President Joe Biden boxing up classified documents in his Delaware home. Applying the same standards, it's clear that Waltz was extraordinarily careless in employing a private chat app to discuss security matters at the highest level of the government. No matter how secure Signal may be, it remains a private messaging app. Communicating by messaging is common practice in government and industry these days. Think about Microsoft Teams, Business WhatsApp, and Google Chat. But these applications are configured to work within organization security protocols. Whilst unforced error was using an unauthorized, privately available app to debate administration points of view among the nation's senior-most national security officials. This is unpardonable. Worse, the world would have never known about this error, but Walsh invited Jeffrey Goldberg, a senior writer at Atlantic magazine, bitter critic of Trump, to this chat group. We're at a loss to explain why a private journalist who has no business discussing government security policies was invited to a senior group of officials debating wartime strategies against the Houthi rebels. Now, these rebels that they're talking about, this is like another one of these terrorist groups, run-of-the-mill terrorist groups that have dominated in the vacuum left by Al-Qaeda. You've had, of course, ISIS. You've had this bunch. You've had Hezbollah. You've had Hamas. And one of the things that this Houthi group has done is really cripple shipping, a lot of shipping with attacks, which is why President Trump, which is why this mission was taking place to start to degrade their capabilities to do so. The tip, by the way, editorial goes on. You can find it at Daily BS. You can also find it at tipinsights.com if you want to read this in full. They go on to say they were disappointed, the editorial board, with Pete Hegseth's comments about the whole debacle when he landed in Hawaii on a multi-stop trip. He's going to visit the Philippines, Japan. Rather than admit that the security team had committed a fiasco of massive proportions, promised it wouldn't happen again, Hegseth, true to form as an experienced TV broadcaster, launched into a tirade against Goldberg in a classic non-denial denial. All of that may be true. Donald Trump this afternoon explained that the leak, I'm looking for the story, so just pardon me, here's it is. Trump reveals who was behind the Signal text chain leak. President Donald Trump revealed that a staffer with National Security Advisor Mike Waltz's office included the editor-in-chief in. So it was a staffer. It wasn't Waltz. So calls for Waltz to resign. Well, you know how this works. The staffer always, Carlos, in case you don't know it, the way it works in most of the world is the staffer gets the blame, not the guy, the staffer. So if I'm the lead guy and I do something really horrific and there's any way that my staffer did it, I didn't do it. So then you make an example of a staffer and you say, oh, problem solved. I don't know who did it. I'm not saying that that's what happened. Maybe the staffer did do it. I have no way of knowing. And that's not my point anyway. I love, as I say, tip editorial. I love the people over there. They're great. They're one of my dearest friends is one of the principals of that. Love it. But I, frankly, have a very different opinion. I could care less about this whole thing. I could care less. I don't care. Okay, you got your problem sorted out. You should have never invited this guy in there. That's absolutely right. This guy's been critical of Trump. In fact, we have audio from this guy. But you know what? Talk to me about this and calling for people to resign. And you have these Democrat senators like Ron Wyden out of Oregon and others. They had a hearing today. It's funny how they can hold hearings so quickly when they want to pounce on something that happens, a misstep from this administration. But we can't get hearings on things for weeks and weeks that are important to conservatives. Then we have to wait for hearings. But this happened. This story's 2 days old, and we've had hearings already. All right, hearings this today, and they tried to rake Tulsi over the coals. They tried to rake. We have some. Look, why don't I care about it? I'll tell you why. Because I've been around long enough to see the lack of accountability that happens when something. Now, tip to their credit, the editorial board there mentioned the Hillary Clinton fiasco with her server. It was worse than all of that because the common belief is that Hillary Clinton's communications were being openly spied on by other nations and, in fact, may have cost American lives. But you know what? We can't say that for certain because the 100% investigation of the impact of it was never done, never traced back. And James Comey, you'll remember, in the election season of 2016, gave Hillary Clinton the pass. Oh, well, she made a mistake. She didn't mean it. Nothing here malicious. And instead of, there was zero accountability. But that's not all, my friends. There's never been accountability. I'm old enough to remember a company named L'Oreal, a big Clinton donor during the Clinton administration. That's back when Clinton was selling access to the Lincoln bedroom for donations. That's when a guy, John Wong, would appear to the White House and just say, you know, White House, just like the subway. You put your token in and you get something out. You pay to play, in other words. But nothing really came of any of that. But I do remember the allegation, and I say the word allegation, was that China had been misfiring missiles. They would fire these rockets up in the air. They blow up right after they leave the launch pad or blow up. And supposedly the allegation was made that they got help from a certain American space company. And they helped China with their guidance systems on missiles and hence elevated them into a world superpower with their ability to deliver nuclear weapons and others via missile capabilities. And supposedly all of this help that they got came through a Clinton donor. Again, never brought to court, never proven, no arrest, no accountability. We don't know whether those allegations were ever founded or unfounded, but why? Because it wasn't taken seriously. You talk about a threat to national security that has implications to today. Try that one, if true. Benghazi. Again, Hillary Clinton's finger in it. Total lies from the administration. Republicans set up some phony hearing committee led by Trey Gowdy that was supposed to uncover the truth. Nothing ever uncovered. We lost lives. American ambassador was killed. American servicemen killed. National security? Nobody gave a damn. There was no accountability. Nobody held the axe on that. How about the other one? You probably never heard of when I say Fast and Furious, Carlos, what do you think about?
The movies.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know that the Department of Justice was running a gun-running program through south of the border? It's called Fast and Furious. They wanted to supposedly trace the route of guns that were being illegally sent down into Mexico. Guess what? A border agent got killed with one of those guns. There was never any real investigation about any of that. Got swept under the rug. No accountability ever to Democrats. Then you go to the Afghanistan withdrawal. We know what happened there. Joe Biden or whoever was running the White House said casually, oh, we're going to pull everything out of Afghanistan. American service members got killed. We left almost $80 billion in weaponry and other military assets in Afghanistan. No one has bothered to trace how that's being used, if it's being used against us. You talk about a national security threat. There's a national security threat. Absolutely 0.000.0 accountability. Nobody held to account for that. Then you got these drones that were flying all over New Jersey and everywhere else. Joe Biden and those bunch never said what they were. Donald Trump came in office and said, it was the government. We still don't know what happened there. So you know what? So when I see a headline that some reporter was on the phone, the mission still went through. And that's what happened. And we helped to at least eradicate temporarily these Houthi guys. Was it a mistake? Heck yeah. But am I going to start crying and demanding that Trump officials resign from it? Oh, hail to the no. Until you start going after all of these major breaches of national security that have happened for decades now, that Democrats have been responsible. To me, this is a nothing burger. A total 100% nothing burger. On this day, my friends, in 1963, Johnny Cash recorded the June Carter, Merrill Kilgore song, Ring of Fire. The song was originally recorded by June's sister, Anita Carter. But of course, Johnny Cash made it his. Biggest hit of Johnny Cash's career, stayed at number one on the United States of America's singles charts for 7 weeks. 1963. James Golden, keep it right here. Oh, your telephone calls are welcome. If you agree, disagree, just let me know. A nothing burger.
Rush.
This is The Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Bo Snerdley.
On 77 WABC.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Steve Norman, guitar, sax with, I didn't say sex, I said sax. Saxophone with the Spandau Ballet was born on this day in 1960. Such a great song. Spandau Ballet. You know this much is what? True. Here's something else that's true. Despicable. Despicable. Unbelievably classless, cheap, low rent, despicable. Who am I talking about? Ha. Her.
Because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So yes.
All right. Governor Abbott has been paralyzed and in a wheelchair since he was young. He had an accident. I believe it was something like an oak tree fell on him, paralyzed, has not been able to use his legs. He's in a wheelchair. You have this despicable Congresswoman out of Georgia mocking the fact that he is paralyzed by giving him the nickname Hot Wheels. You want to know what's true? It is true that there is no low enough for members of the Democrat Party. When you think they've reached their lowest point, there's even lower that they will go.
It's the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Now here's Bo Snerdley.
James Golden, Snerdley with you. I'm still standing, huh?
I'm sorry. I picked it before you start talking about the story, and I put it in the log, and I'm sorry.
Elton?
Yes, Elton John.
Of course.
Sir.
You know why?
Sir.
It's
Elton
his.
John.
It's Elton John's birthday today. Happy birthday to Elton John. One of the greatest forces in music in the last half of the 20th century and even into this one. Elton John, the one, the only Elton John. Much love to you, Elton. Happy birthday. All right, I got to just comment on something. We got to go quick because, I got so much stuff here. So, yesterday we had another one of these Obama judges, this one, Judge Patricia Millett, who said at the District Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C., this, I am really fighting to maintain composure and not use horrible language here. This judge said that members of Tren de Agua under the Trump administration were treated worse. They received the Nazis in World War II, Nazis in World War II had more favorable treatment than Donald Trump is treating this horrid gang, Tren de Agua, out of Venezuela. Now, this just shows you the bias, but more than that, it shows you the dim-witted, obnoxious, asinine idiocy of some of these people that are judges, and not just judges to some of the highest courts in the land. During the break, I asked TJ if he could just find me the details on this, because I wanted to, it just came to my mind when I was thinking about this story. I remembered that Nazis, World War II in America. Okay, and he found it very quickly. It was called Operation Pastorius. What happened, 8 Germans, some who had lived in the United States before, were trained and sent to do sabotage acts to Americans during World War II. One of them got cold feet, turned himself into the FBI in Washington, revealed the details of the operation, and within 2 weeks, before they could start sabotaging in wartime, committing acts of sabotage here in the United States, they were captured. Here's the long and short of what happened. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in August 1942, authorized a military tribunal. 6 of the 8 were found guilty. They were sentenced to death. And it didn't take long before the 6 were deaded. Gone. There wasn't an appeals court. Nobody ran to the court system. This happened within the military. Nobody ran to the district court and asked the circuit district judge there what she thought about dealing with Nazis. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president, had a military tribunal. They quickly said, you bastards are guilty and you're gonna die, and that's what happened. That is not what President Trump is doing with these people. They are being sent out of America where they cannot do any more harm to American citizens. And by the way, these were people that had not committed the sabotage. They were just thinking about sabotage. They were got to before they could commit any acts. The Tren de Agua people have committed acts. And you have this ridiculously idiot, asinine judge. I don't mean to call the woman an idiot. Let me just back up here. I apologize for that. But you have this asinine statement from this judge that says that Donald Trump is treating this violent gang worse than we treated Nazis. It is not historically inaccurate I am so infuriated with these people. Take a deep breath.
They can't stop saying Nazi.
You know, these people with their hatred of Donald Trump, it is what rules them. It is what informs them. Our own history as a nation does not inform them before they run off at the mouth and make stupid, idiotic remarks. Donald Trump is trying to save the citizens of this nation from dealing with horrendous crimes that have been committed that the Democrat Party and their allies, including some of them sitting with robes on in court, don't seem to understand. Meanwhile, let's go to today. Let's roll them off. Time is running and we've got so much to do. We're going to have to get to most of these sound bites tomorrow, Carlos. I keep saying that. And tomorrow there's even more stuff. All right.
I mean, we did play a lot Saturday. You said we're going to play a lot. We did play a lot.
And this Saturday, get ready because we're going to be jamming more. Okay. God willing, we're here. Okay. Big news today, folks. Princess Diana sent me this. I about leapt out of my chair. Oh, goodness. Princess Diana and Lady Benedict, one of them sent me it. Cut 20. It'll speak for itself. Just play cut 20.
Next, sir, we have a presidential memorandum for your attention. This memorandum requires the immediate declassification of all FBI files relating to the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. This was obviously one of the instances of the weaponization of law enforcement powers of prosecution against you and others. We believe that it's long past time for the American people to have a full and complete understanding of what exactly is in those files.
which gives the media the right to go in and check it. You probably won't bother because you're not going to like what you see. But this was total weaponization. It's a disgrace. It should never happen in this country. But now you'll be able to see for yourselves, all declassified.
Okay, we'll just end it there because we got more to do. Classify Hurricane Crossfire. What is that? That's the operation led by remnants of the Obama administration and all that to Russia. The phony Russian collusion hoax that many members of this mainstream media bought into, which is why Donald Trump is saying, you people probably won't want to read this. And now we get some of the classified details that have been classified till now. He's letting it all out. Let's see if the mainstream media does indeed report on what's there and how phony this attempt to do a political coup against a sitting president, because that's what it was. Let's see whether they'll report it this time. Next, 19. Boom.
Sir, we have an executive order for your attention on the very important subject of election integrity. We believe that this executive order is the farthest reaching executive action taken in the history of the Republic to secure our elections. Among numerous other aspects of this executive order, this is going to cut down on illegal immigrants on the voter rolls, ensure that the Department of Homeland Security and the data that they have available is being fully weaponized to ensure that illegal immigrants aren't voting. This will include a citizenship question on the federal voting form for the first time. This executive order instructs the EAC to cut federal funding to states that don't take reasonable steps to secure their election. This calls on the Department of Justice to vigorously prosecute election crimes, particularly in states that we don't believe are in compliance with federal law around election integrity. I could go on for a while, sir, but the compliance with National Election Day rules, cracking down and investigating and prosecuting foreign interference in our elections, revoking President Biden's Executive Order 14019, which essentially weaponized government to corrupt and pollute our election process. There's a lot.
So that's enough of that. The executive orders coming down to finally get to the bottom of the way Democrats and their cronies have been abusing the election process. There's going to be a lot of this. And by the way, Congress has got to get involved if election reform is going to mean anything. But this is a good first step. Okay, number 18. Let's do it.
And that's sanctuary cities. We're going to end sanctuary cities for some of these jurisdictions that aren't cooperating with law enforcement. They're guarding criminals. They're taking the rights away from the citizens of this state and their city. And we're going to be ending sanctuary cities if we find it necessary to do in certain major areas. And we may just end the entire thing altogether because it's just a way of protecting criminals. And nobody else is benefited by that. And for some reason, Democrats want to keep and they want to shield criminals from being sent back to their countries or being sent to prison. And in the meantime, the crime rate has gone through the roof. Under Biden, it was through the roof. It's starting to come down, but we're taking a lot of people out of here. So we may be presenting you very shortly with a executive order ending sanctuary cities.
Thank you. We are looking forward to it, Mr. President. Bring it. Okay, now, let's go to DOGE and something that they're doing that is extremely important. This was from the cabinet meeting. Here,
DOGE is turning its attention to massive government contracts, and consulting firms are scrambling to justify their funding. Hillary Vaughn is following all of this. Hillary?
Hi, Dagan. Well, these firms have just a week to write their own report card. The General Services Administration sending a letter to top consulting firms telling them to grade themselves on how exactly they are spending billions in taxpayer cash. The letter saying they need to, quote, identify each related contract and project and further break down spending by functional category in simple layman terms. A 15-year-old should be able to understand what service you provide and why it is so important. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said the chokehold these consulting firms have on government spending has shocked him the most since he moved to D.C. and started opening up the books.
One of the biggest surprises for me is just seeing how these entrenched interests they just keep constricting themselves around the power, around the money, around the systems, and nobody cares. Many of the employees are fantastic. It's this consultant group who has they're like a boa constrictor, they're like a python. They've got themselves
no pun intended.
The problem is systemic.
Yeah, okay, so we got it. So what's happening here, folks? All this consulting money flowing out. All these, look, this is just crony capitalism. The government, these Democrats especially, and no, let me retract that. Both parties know what's going on here. Both parties are involved with this. I happen to think one party uses it a lot more brazenly than the other. But, you get in office and all of a sudden taxpayer dollars start flowing to your friends, your buddies. And where does that money come back? Well, when it's election time, when you're doing campaign season, guess who donates to you? Yes, it's a money laundering operation. And it's been going on for ages. And when Donald Trump said they're going to clean, look, why do you think these people are so mad at Elon? This thing is so entrenched. In fact, let's go and grab Elon real quickly because he was at the cabinet meeting and he had a comment on what was going on at the SBA. And I tell you, that's cut 12. Just pick it up. Here we go.
The case of fraud was with the Small Business Administration where they were handing out loans, $330 million worth of loans to people under the age of 11. I think the youngest, Kelly, was a 9-month-old who got a $100,000 loan. That's a very precocious baby we're talking about here.
Well, we're tackling the fraud, waste, and abuse in the agency. We've seen, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud go unprosecuted, so we're taking that on. We have a zero-tolerance policy for fraud.
That Pam Bodney jumped in. We're taking this on.
And make sure
look, folks, that's enough.
I
have friends that are struggling to put their businesses on the ground. They've tried to get all kind of help. They can't get help. They can't work through the bureaucracy on it. Meanwhile, you got this government giving out $300 million in loans to in babies, infants, and children who are in no way running a daggone business. You want to know why they hate Elon while they're still doing the car business? Well, some of these people are just off their rockers. But the ones that are really frightened are the ones who have been making themselves rich off of you and your government, and their gravy train is coming to an end. And that's why they hate this man. That's why they hate Donald Trump. Follow the money. Follow all of the money. Birthday, heavenly birthday today for the Queen. 1942. Aretha Franklin was born, American singer-songwriter, Queen of Soul. Passed away in 2018, 76 years old. 18 Grammys during her career. More than 15 top 10 hits. The one, the only, Aretha Franklin.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Bo Snerdley.
On 77 WABC.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Rush. What age do you think most trans kids determine that they're trans?
Violet told us when she was 1.5. She's been telling us since she could speak. So she knew since birth.
Yeah. Right, you. Yes. America started a 3-week run at the number 1 spot on the U.S. singles charts this day in 1972. A Horse with No Name. I asked Carlos if he knew what this song was about. Supposedly about. As it was told to me back in the day. And what did you say, Carlos? You didn't know?
I had no idea what it talks about.
Well, now that you're listening to it, he rode through the desert on a horse with no name. In the desert, you can't remember your name?
Maybe drugs. I don't know.
Okay, that's what this song was supposedly about. A horse with no name. Heron. For those of you in non-ethnic America, that means heroin. Heron. That's what the song was supposedly about. Heron. Horse with no name. That's what the nickname for Heron was, horse. It's the horse. By the way, I have the best nurse in the world. I love nurses. I love all of you nurses who give so much. My nursey is the best. My nursey nurse. She has cautioned me to please dial it back with getting myself so worked up on what these liberals say. Thank you, nursey nurse. I'm telling you, I should not blow a gasket over this stuff. Okay.
James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, presents Rapid Phones.
Walter in Connecticut, you are up first. What is on your mind this afternoon?
Oh, it's a pleasure talking to you. I listen to you every day on my way home. Hey, all these bills and all these executive orders that Trump's signing, I really think it has the opportunity to set the course of this country in the right direction. My concern is that our reps, whether they're Congress, Senate, can't seem to get out of their own way to vote on any of this stuff. And
amen to you.
They're never going to do that.
Well, here's what it is. The Senate, there's an article, I'm sorry to cut you short, and I'd love to talk with you longer, but there's an article today I wanted to bring to your attention that the Senate is actually aggressive to try to get Trump's agenda starting to move through the Senate. The House, for some reason, seems to be a bit slower, but we shall see what happens. So let's just give it a little more time. You mentioned right track, wrong track. Harry Enton of CNN did a new data point today. Not only is Trump more popular than ever, he's -4, but compared to where he was, his numbers are doing great. But also the right track, wrong track numbers are moving in the right direction for the first time in a long time. We'll get to that tomorrow. Let's go to George in Rockland County. George, you're up next. Got to make it quick because time is fleeing.
Sure will. Okay, thanks for taking my call. So regarding the Congresswoman, I believe you said from Georgia, attacking Governor Abbott in Texas. Okay, good. Okay. You're not allowed by law attack people with disability. He's a disabled person here, and I like President Trump administration to look into it, and also Speaker Johnson. Okay, she should be punished severely. Okay?
There were resolutions already in the House developing to censure her. That's as best they can do on that.
Greg Kelly here with an urgent retirement warning. President Trump's return is set to usher in a new golden age, but growing trade tensions and China's ruthless attack on the dollar have rattled the markets. That's why Warren Buffett just dumped $133 billion in stocks. And so too have Jeff Bezos, Larry Page, and even Jamie Dimon, CEO of the world's largest bank. That's why thousands of informed IRA and 401k savers are now shielding their savings with gold. And the experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you to do the exact same thing, especially now after Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki warned of a coming market crash. So visit freegoldguide.com/Kelly or call 800-655-5186. You'll get a free gold guide on how to bulletproof your wealth with gold tax-free. Plus, see if you qualify for a free home safe and as much as $7,500 in free silver. Once again, that's freegoldguide.com/Kelly.